Thank you everybody to join the session for this new webinar. It's all about a lot of things, especially around the dams. So we are very delighted and committed on our side from Activo and Dam News, by the way, to get a great pleasure once again to get this amazing time with a very disruptive company, French company, Perfect Memory. So thank you, Louis. Thank you, Raoul. So maybe we can start introducing you. Stage is yours.
Sure. Thanks for having us. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Louis Matignon. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Perfect Memory. And I'll be delighted to leave most of the stage to Raoul today. Raoul, over to you.
Yes, and I'm Raoul Cospen. I'm fairly new in Perfect Memory. I'm not very new in the DAM and MAM industry. I've been around for the last 25 years, so I'm sure some of you might know me. And I'm going to lead the sales in Perfect Memory indeed.
Yeah, so welcome, Raoul. So to join this amazing team of Perfect Memory, by the way. So for any people following Perfect Memory, 1 year ago at NAB Show, we have this amazing marketing. I think it was amazing to see this marketing slot, which was AI sucks. And of course, you know that finally, a lot of you have some questions regarding AI, DAM, and MAM systems. And the question today is AI won't fix your metadata mess. And so this is the purpose, and we'll also get more or less 40 minutes to give you some answer, some tips and tricks. And so let's move forward. Just very quick, because of course we are super delighted to support Perfect Memory as a partner. All of us, Activo, so Malik and myself are driving the company alongside. We're more or less helping customers to find the right path to take. And so I'm very delighted to join also the session. It's also Activo, it's also about DAM News. So maybe you can move on the next slide. So DAM News is an independent website. So it's in the last 17 years we are more or less testing all DAM systems in the world. So with a diagnostic approach. And so you can find a lot of content, just like as the DAM industry report.
Yes, indeed. And just before we start, so welcome everyone. And before we start, just a few words about Perfect Memory. So Perfect Memory is indeed a software editor. We have all sorts of customers in many different industries like sports, media, pharma, supply chain, broadcast, and all sorts of DAM and MAM functionalities to index your content, to share your content, to orchestrate your data, to distribute your content, or to do specific workflows for collaborative production. So pretty much everything you would expect from a MAM or a DAM platform.
Just a reminder, because especially last year, we made some interviews. It was just 1 year ago at an issue on the booth, etc. Super exciting, isn't it, Louis? You remember?
Yeah, it's incredible how time goes fast, but it was, we met on the NAB show floor. It was really nice interview, actually. Probably the second or third one we had together. And it was very thrilling to see the excitation around the product, showing all the different new things we had to show, and we look forward actually to be there again in a few weeks' time. So
yes, right, because it's just 1 week, 1 month ahead, NAB year 2026, and the next one will just also get the pleasure to yourself and Malika, by way, to get some nice panel with some of your customers on the stage at the Satis.
Yeah, the equivalent of NAB in France, it was really lovely to catch up with Malika right after. We had a quick interview, right, just a few minutes after we closed our panel. So it was really nice, to see a little bit, once again, the different updates, to exchange and confront ideas around data supply chain, around, what AI can do for different organizations, for media, how does it impact the damn world? Because we really bring, and we'll see that, how we touch base on that right after. Yeah. We'll see, how, if you think wider, and how you can integrate AI pretty successfully without endangering, the scale of your operations.
So I'm sure that finding content is not every time very easy for you. Finding projects, finding the relevant videos and pictures. So sometimes this is because for you it's hard to navigate through the content, which is not necessarily very well shared. And some of the times maybe you've got limitations with your search. So I'm sure that if you're attending this webinar, it's because you have you face those kind of problems. So very often one of the natural behavior is to think AI. Okay, so let's implement a few AI pipelines that use either indexing techniques or LLMs, large language models. So that's pretty good. That's a good solution, but very often it's not necessarily 100% accurate. It generates a very large volume of data that is not necessarily well qualified, that is not necessarily representative for your business. So the data might not be very well digestible by your business, and this creates noise. So don't spend time and money to recreate your data that you own. And what I'd like to do now is to launch a little poll, and I'm sure you've got a poll that is going to appear on your screen for us to understand how you search our content, how your data live in your MAM or DAM today, and what kind of process do you use to input metadata to document your workflows. And while you do this, I'll also continue to do the presentation. And the issue is too much data is absolutely useless, and unorganized data is useless as well, right? And in this presentation, we are going to look into an innovative approach to organize your data. And this approach is based on what we call semantic. It's using a technology called GraphQL, and it offers you the ability to make your content easily searchable, to really maximize the potential of AI into your workflows. It's also used to better connect people, systems together with the content. And basically, the way we do it is we organize your data in what we call an ontology. So I'm going to show you how it works. And we are going to take a very specific example, an example which is pretty universal, which is soccer, so that's sports and soccer, particularly soccer. Why? Because in the soccer world, we all know the terms for soccer. We talk about competitions, we talk about seasons, games, teams, players. We talk about actions like goals, camera angles, such kind of things. So each of these terms are represented as business objects that are linked together in what we call an ontology. So perfect memory allows you to evolve your ontology as business grows. And as you've got new requirements, new systems, new things to connect, this modelization can seem complicated, but it really simplifies the life of the users. For example, I'm a user searching. Maybe I'm a sponsor, or maybe I'm one of those televisions who is looking for particular content to produce a news show or a program in general. And in this example, I'm a user searching for very particular short sequences. I'm looking for specific goals during the World Cup for only certain players. So this search is written in natural language. It's rather intuitive, but really only an ontology and relationship between objects will allow you to search, to find the best results. So if you don't have this ontology, actually you might need some software development to find those kind of search. So that's my results. So on the top, I've got my search query, and then I'm presented with either some thumbnails, or I've got another view actually with more details on the actual content, and on the right side you can see the preview of what's in that content. And what's really interesting is on the left side, you've got what we call filters. So it's on the top right now. So you've got filters, you've got facets that are really contextual to your search results. So you can really naturally filter your search results when you've got many of them. And if you manage video content, you'll find our unique feature, which is called cross-semantic search, extremely powerful. Just imagine that, in the soccer world, you have multiple layers of data to represent goals, faces, logos, speech, noise, music, whatever. So all of these are kind of different tracks of data that are time-coded. So if you are searching for that video sequence that is a close-up, which is a camera angle, of Pogba with a player celebrating, so that's an emotion, that's yet a different track of data, right? And you want this during a goal, so that's an action, which is another track of data. If you search for those 4 different terms at the same time, you need an intersection, a time-coded intersection of all those different terms that represent different tracks. So this is extremely unique and really powered by perfect memory on the one end, but also the ontology on the other end. So try to think about it. Try to translate this in your business, and you'll imagine the different possibilities that it offers to users. So it's very natural then to search across videos. So these search functions have a very tangible benefits. So not only you're able to search your content way faster, but also the search results you're going to find are way more relevant. They are more representative of what you're looking for, and you can really talk the same language as your business to the system. That's what's most important.
Raoul, I was thinking maybe just to give, because the poll has been ended, so just to give you regarding before providing the solutions. So we had 3 questions. One was, how do users find the content today? So just for your information, so 43%, more or less half of the people are using keywords. You are 30% using metadata filters. And also the rest is all about browsing folders and or maybe sometimes to ask to somebody else because you are not capable to find the answer. Okay, so half of the time it's keywording searching. The second question was, what data lives in your DAM and MAM today? So it's most of the time rich and structured metadata, 50%, which is good, by the way. So we have some maturity. We have also some other content, just like basic assets, 25%. And for the rest, we have, I would say, which is good, it's a mess. Okay. Mm-hmm. By the way, and the last question, and not the least, or how do you enrich your metadata? Of course, you imagine the subject regarding AI. And in fact, today, which is good, 83%, it's a mix of both AI and indexations, and which is surprising. AI auto tagging 0%. Okay, so and very often it's manual during the upload phase. So just for information.
Yes, indeed. So this is pretty representative, and we see here, we guess here the potential of semantic in representing your business into a database that everyone can browse and can search easily. And one of the particularity of ontology, of semantic, of the particularity of perfect memory is you transform data and elevate it into information. So it's not just data that sits somewhere, in different metadata fields. It's business objects that we really represent your data and elevate it into knowledge, basically. So that's the first aspect. So you can, navigate through your content and make informed decisions. But the other benefit of that is you really add a layer of data governance. So what I call data governance is you, first of all, keep track of your data sources. Is this coming from AI? Is this coming from an existing system that you just have migrated? Is it coming from an input of a manual user? And is it, is it validated by a user? Do we know that it's precise or not? All of this is there. You can track the consistency of the data. It's also going to clearly tell you if there is a conflict, what you're going to do with it, such kind of functions. So that's data governance, and you've got also the ability to plug in different kind of AI engines and do what we call AI orchestration. So the good thing is we really control your model for AI. So we map the AI results into the ontology. I take an extremely simple example. If you want to do face recognition, it's not the faces that are owned, by AWS or Microsoft and so on. It's the faces that are stored in the persons objects, in the people objects of your ontology that is going to index the content. So you are in control of the model. That's very important. So it was a short presentation. There is plenty of things to say, but what you should really do is have a demo if you're interested to have a demo that's pretty impressive to see live and to see all the different possibilities to search for your content and to navigate through your content. We can also demonstrate to you how we build an ontology and how flexible it is. And you can, of course, contact us through Activo and through our website. And of course, we will be present at NAB as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's very important, by the way. We had this experience last year. It was an amazing booth, a lot of activities. All the people by Perfect is really dedicated to provide you from use cases. I remember last year about the NASCAR and etc. So very super insightful demonstration are by way on the Perfect or a booth, and Ready NAB is the place to be for sure as soon as you want to tackle the video, MAM, and even beyond with DAM systems alongside what really matters for your project.
Yes, indeed. And just a few tips if you're looking at, putting in place a DAM system, put something on top of your existing systems and so on. I mean, what I find essential is really to think search. What do you want to find? What kind of search you're doing? Which kind of keywords are you using? What are your objects you manipulate on your day-to-day basis? If you are in retail, of course, you've got very marketing terms and you've got trousers and you've got pullovers and so on, which is very different from what we have seen, for example, in sports. But the system adapts to both situations, and so it's really about what kind of content your user wants to find and what kind of queries they are doing. And I think that's a very good door of entry into defining what your business model is.
I think what's very important as well is, finding content is all about structuring the data you have internally and thinking about the data flow, thinking about the information. How do you want the information to be put in place? When you think a little bit on a wider scale, AI is just another source of data. You have source of data everywhere. You have source, in the production systems. You have source in you have different dams. Maybe you have different Excel spreadsheets. You have traffic systems. You have, you name it. The systems you have, and you have data laying around everywhere. So the question becomes, how can I offer my users a way to search across all those different information that might be relevant to cross? But that opens the can of, how do I think about my data governance? How do I think about the way I want to structure the information, the way I want to expose it. And then, once you have established all the information you have internally, then you can see the gaps. Then you can see where AI can bring value. Because the whole point, as Ralph said earlier, is not about I jump into AI, I create a lot of data, whole lots of data, but then after it creates too much noise. So the noise it brings makes it even more complicated to find the content for my users to find. But you have to think about just focusing about the information you miss. That's the first step into AI, into using AI to index, to create this information. But then AI has to serve and include the results directly inside your referential, inside your context. Because what your users are doing, there's one thing they all have in common: they understand your context. So if all the data, all the information is injected inside a referential that is your context, that's what Raoul was explaining about the ontology, it will become suddenly very intuitive to search. They will not be needing to be trained, because the system will speak their language. The system will expose the different objects that they used to work with, and therefore they will jump and they will search very naturally, very intuitively, because you have shifted the paradigm from your users to adapt to a system that has been designed in a very fixed manner to serve a specific purpose, into a system that adapts to the context, to the language, and to the objects that your users are manipulating on a day-to-day basis through the common denominator. So it's very important for your users. Thinking AI requires to think on a broader term around how do I structure, where do I get the data, how do I expose it in a meaningful information, in a meaningful context to my users, and then after you can jump into AI. And that's what modern systems should be allowing to you to deliver that, having this kind of tool set, having this kind of we used to call perfect the knowledge operating system. How do you have all the different functions that allows you to manage your knowledge, which is carried by the data you have everywhere? And that's what you should be thinking about. Data strategy first, data supply chain. Where do the data come from? How is it stored? How is it created? And once you have automated, once you've thought about that, you reduce the frictions on governance. You reduce the friction on access. You reduce the frictions on the referentials, and everyone works in a much more fluid manner. Access the content, find it, use it, monetize it. And that's the whole point of what a modern DAM should be actually taking into account.
And for sure, Activo is really here to help you modelize all of this, to help you in thinking on what's going to be important for you and your ontology. They have capabilities to put together the ontology for you and make it very usable for your organization, but also evolvable. It should be able to evolve.
By the way, something we can say is really you are at a level that which is more than just a simple taxonomy in fact, and regarding your use cases, etc., and especially on our side, we are used to play with MCs, media bank, as for example, with a lot of content, and I think Perfect Memory is providing the clear representation between classic and basic indexation, IPTC, XMPA, custom metadata, alongside AI, etc. So as we was saying, many customers are wasting too much time searching for, and the reason why of that is the performance of search. And I think Perfect Memory is providing you the clear representation of to empower your media management.
I think this is a good time for questions, right?
Maybe one question we have, in fact, is what is the level of administration you have on Perfect Memory to manage, as for example, the mix of custom metadata of AI, and especially, can I apply AI as, for example, an enrichment on selected assets, or how finally the AI is set up inside your system?
Yes, absolutely. Perfect Memory, the platform, embeds what we call a workflow engine and what we call a semantic workflow engine. so specific about a semantic workflow engines, that's the point that any information attached or linked to an asset can be used as a trigger or as a conditions or as a parameter for any kind of workflow, which means you can define, in a no-code manner, different workflows that will say, hey, I want to execute this AI process, let's say shot detection, with this type of parameter on every content attached to this series, for example, or any content, but any content attached to this other series. You can execute the same AI engine, but with different parameters, because what I'm searching might be a different shot scene, for example. So it's really flexible about, orchestrating the different AI enrichment, and in fact, the global enrichment, because enrichment is three different folds. You have manual enrichment, obviously. It's like the administrator entering information at the asset level, or, linking different assets, etc. The second is AI, obviously. The third one is reconciliation from outside the platform sources, which can be internal system or can be external systems, such as, the linked open data, or you name it. So the reality is really about, for each information, decide what the strategy should be. Who do I trust? What's the most trustable source of information? And how do I get that information? And how do I validate it? How do I make sure that, when I have conflicting information from three different sources, I can trust one better than the other because it's my admin. So I assume that my DAM administrator is, the most reliable. The human always is the most reliable sources.
And I think the question is for you, Raoul, is does finally AI is there to enrich these layers of metadata? Is customer specific? So is there anything that you can customize regarding finally the context of a customer? And maybe something I can add at the top is because very often people are, when we're thinking about AI, etc., we're talking about ChatGPT here, Claude, etc. And maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what type of technologies or mix of technologies you are using.
I will answer the customer specific and I'll let you answer the other part of the question now.
Okay.
So, Manuel, yes, you understood right. Each of our customers are operating a different context, and therefore they have their own ontology. Now, you shouldn't be scared about this because that can be quite scary. Because we now have, Perfect Memory has been operating since 2018. So we have, deployed ontologies, especially in the media world, quite numerous amount of time. We have our own set of ontologies that are based on market standard ontologies. So usually when we deploy at a customer, the ontology is 80% ready. In the media world, everyone knows what's an image, everyone knows what's a video, everyone knows what's... so those aspects are common to everyone.
Yes, and even people, persons, the ontology around persons, for example.
Yes, exactly.
Personalities and so on. There is nationalities, a list of countries, all of that already exists by default. So there are a number of standards, right, Louis, to define that.
You have standards like friend of a friend. You have standards like, I don't know, the EBU core, for example, in the media world, that we have translated into an operational ontology that is straight implementable out of the box. And then from that's what we recommend our customers to do, is then adjust and make it move, make it live. The ontologies approach and the graph approach is great because it allows you full flexibility, which means you are never stuck. We have never been stuck on the data model constraint, which allows us to tell our customers, do not try to forecast the future. The system is designed to absorb everything we don't know today that you will need tomorrow. Whenever you have a new business need, you can model it into your ontology without touching the entire business model. You can update your workflow, you can update the views, and then it moves forward. So which means you always have a system very accurately close to the way of operating. And when you do those small changes, and that's what we recommend, we recommend you start from a common ground, and then after you evolve, you adjust the small changes. And when you look back 3 years down the line, then you realize that your system has actually evolved quite significantly. And that's the whole value of perfect memory. Make sure that you keep a relevant system for your operationals.
The second side of the questions was really about AI.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is as you build those ontologies, is that different AI engines are going to provide different kind of results in different formats. So what you want to do is to map this into your ontology, to map this into your business objects. So if it's about face detection, that's the most simple example. You want to relate those results to the entries that you have in your ontology. So if you detect Emmanuel Macron, for example, then it's the same Emmanuel Macron coming from this AI, that manual inputs, etc. This is the same object, and it's all linked together. So you can navigate through the content.
Thank you, Raoul. Oops. Excellent. So thanks, Louis, for the answer.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for the final comment. I hope this presentation was useful to everyone, and I'm going to repeat myself a bit, but come see us, ask for demos.
Yeah, I think it's important, by the way, to keep you posted. So, of course, NAB Shore is in Vegas, so we know the situation as it is with the US, etc. But by the way, it's very important, and this is one of the mission we have by Activo to get some reports, analytics, and blog posts. So, at any time, we'll spend also the time to get interviews from the Perfect Memory team. And we just put the interviews in French and English in the chat. So when we do more or less the same with the team at NAB. So by the way, on the blog post, etc., you get much more information about what is cooking inside. Maybe something I can ask you, because it's always something as a teaser. Do you have any specific things to unveil at NAB, or maybe just to get some sneak and peeks?
Yes, actually, integration with new AI engines. We also have made improvements in this cross-semantic search. You will see what else. I'm not completely yet familiar with all the new things that Perfect Memory is showing, but they are pretty cool features. Also, we are looking at having some sports logging capabilities at NAB. So if your business is in sports, there will be new things here to show as well.
And as usual, we'll be showcasing, the way we integrate with production tools like Adobe Premiere. How do we make it easy for customers to search? How do we make it easy for admin people, to handle the governance without too much pain? How do all those help into structuring a right set of information to allow people to find, actually, and allowing them to make their content. So find to make the content.
Yeah, and something also we can say, because we had this great pleasure last year, and I will not talk about the afterworks, by the way, but which was something very interesting also, because Perfect Memory is providing an ecosystem of partners also. So we had a lot of back and forth between the partners, and of course, this is the single opportunity, by the way, to be in touch with customers, especially on the US side. So remember last year with NASCAR, etc. But I think we have some very interactive talks between Perfect and customers. So of course, we try to figure out on our side to share with you all these testimonials. But by the way, if you are really the time, and the reason also this webinar at that time is really also to tackle the US market. So Vegas is a short taxiway, by the way, from more or less wherever you are. It's always a nice place to be. It's always sunny. And so, by the way, you get a great pleasure to be part of the innovation. We know that NAB is driving so much more than it looks like. It's about all the camera suppliers, etc. It's a lot of interactions. By the way, we are super delighted. So thanks again, Louis and Raoul. So welcome first. Raoul, so you're But I think you have a great already experience in this space. And as we are used to say, the success is 5% of technology and 95% of people and processes. And we know that the Perfect Memory team is very dedicated. It is a clear representation of that experience in order to help you driving your projects. So thank you guys, and really appreciate your time as of today. Thank you.
Everyone.
Have a
Thank
good
you,
day.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.